The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Today is Thursday, March 24th, 2022, and welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show. As always, we have a jam-packed show. We're going to be joined by our partners at ActTV. I do believe we have a live shot of our partners at ActTV. We're encouraging everyone to go to actv.join/join to find out more information. They are broadcasting now from outside of the Supreme Court, and we will be joined by their political director and their Washington correspondent to discuss the proceedings of Ketanji Brown. This is a very exciting time, to be honest with you, but it can't help but to be flanked by the reality that when there is no valid argument against a candidate, when our rivals, our political friends on the other side of the aisle, I'm loath to call them friends, but when they have no legitimate argument against a qualified candidate, we see what we see happening now. And we'll be joined later on today's episode by our partners at ActTV to discuss that. Also coming up in this segment, we're going to be speaking with Michael Watson of Watson Wealth Group. Part of Northwestern Mutual. We're going to begin the conversation about Black wealth. We don't discuss it a lot on this particular show, but it is most certainly critical to progress in general. And so we're going to be talking about how it is that Black families can begin to establish a footprint, an economic footprint that can actually help lead towards liberation. We'll be discussing that. And of course, we'll be joined by Georgia Fort, DJ Exclusive, Rebecca Azor. Dr. Carl Mack is out today. We have a jam-packed show. I believe we're going to be joined by Pascal of the Pascal Show, Aleo Lurin. We have a lot of miles to go. I want to begin this morning, as always, with a moment of Black history. So, hey, Google, what happened today in Black history?
Leader Dorothy Irene Height was born in Richmond, Virginia. She served as president of Delta Sigma Theta sorority and the National Council of Negro Women. Named to the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subject of Biomedical and Behavioral Research in 1974, Height helped publish the Belmont Report, which publicly disclosed the Tuskegee syphilis study. Among her many awards are the Congressional Medal of Honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and the NAACP Spingarn Medal. Adapted from Black Heritage Day calendar by author, lecturer and civil rights activist Dr. Carl Mack.
I had a chance to talk with Dr. Mack yesterday. He is neck deep working on the Black History calendar for Black women. And most certainly he has already entered into the conversation. Ketanji Brown Jackson, who has gone through day 3 of her SCOTUS hearings. And so we're excited about rooting our conversations on this show in Black history for all of the reasons, including the fact that, well, it's just a beautiful thing to be Black. Madeleine Albright. I have to be careful with certain stories. If I'm going to be honest with you, certain stories take me straight out of any idea of professionalism. Madeleine Albright is dead at the age of 84. Madeleine Albright was the first female Secretary of State. Her death was announced this morning, or rather yesterday, March 23rd. The former Secretary of State died of cancer. Albright was nominated for Secretary of State by former President Bill Clinton. She served in the role from 1997 to 2001. President Joe Biden paid tribute to Albright in a lengthy statement Wednesday, calling her a force and saying working with her during the 1990s while he was in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee was among the highlights of his Senate career. Madeleine Albright was confronted by an Ohio State. I want to play a clip here of Madeleine Albright being confronted by an Ohio State University student in 1998 on why the U.S. continues to bomb Iraq while selling weapons to Israel used on Palestinians. Her response was accusing the students in the room of defending Saddam Hussein. Let's take a look at that clip.
What do you have to say about dictators of countries like Indonesia, who we sell weapons to, yet they are slaughtering people in East Timor? What do you have to say about Israel, who is slaughtering Palestinians, who impose martial law? What do you have to say about that? Those are our allies. Why do we sell weapons to these countries? Why do we support them? Why do we bomb Iraq when it commits similar problems?
examples of things that are not right in this world, and the United States is trying. I really am surprised that people feel that it is necessary to defend the rights of Saddam Hussein, when what we ought to be thinking about is how to make sure that he does not use weapons of mass destruction.
I'd like to.
Who are shouting? Just a moment.
I'm not defending him in the least. What I am saying is that there needs to be consistent application of U.S. foreign policy. We cannot support people who are committing the same violations because they are political allies. That is not acceptable. We cannot violate UN resolutions when it is convenient to us. You're not answering my question, Madam Albright.
That 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
All right. Madeleine Albright dead, I believe, at the age of 84. I wanted that clip in particular to play because there seems to be a difficulty amongst a lot of people. It's rather difficult to do two things. That is to hold critique of all guilty parties, particularly now shifting the conversation to Ukraine and the United States and Russia. The conversation of over whether or not Russia is committing war crimes, which they clearly are. But then there's a reaction to claims from the United States against another nation, as we could hear in that clip where the student was confronting Madeleine Albright about the United States complicity, not just complicity, but leading the way in our own versions of crimes against humanity. And so in this conversation about Ukraine, there seems to be a lot of going back and forth between whether or not the United States has any moral standing to call Russia, and particularly Vladimir Putin, a war criminal. I don't think that should be a difficult thing to actually work out here. It is both possible for us to recognize that the United States most certainly has blood on its hands and is most certainly committing war crimes. There's no ambiguity about that. In the clip that we previously heard, they mentioned Hiroshima and Nagasaki, just to name a few. Not to mention that this country was, in fact, founded in genocide and slavery. So when we criticize what's happening right now on the international stage, we're not doing so with the blindness or obliviousness or even whitewashing America's crimes. We're simply saying we're capable of multitasking, chewing gum and walking at the same time. We can both hold that Vladimir Putin is outside of the realm of international norms and is committing war crimes while continuously criticizing and holding America accountable. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. It's not impossible. But I believe that in some cases, we find people who don't want to engage in good faith and simply admit that there can be more than one bad actor on the international stage. And quite frankly, we're dealing with a bad actor in the form of Vladimir Putin. Not only a bad actor, if I could just give one more piece of commentary before we move on, I want to say he's an irrational actor. And I'm not talking about irrational in the sense of mental capacity or cognitive decline. I'm saying that on his best day, his estimate, his war strategy, his idea to take Ukraine was an irrational decision. And because of that, the international community has been thrown into turmoil. We'll be discussing that a bit more throughout today's episode. As with everything else, again, we'll be joined by Georgia Fort on the clock at the half-hour mark. DJ Exclusive is with us as always. Rebecca Azor is going to be with us, and momentarily we're going to be joined by Michael Watson of Watson Wealth Management to discuss Black wealth. Here's the other thing. I can't think of anyone associated, excuse my voice, it's very difficult for me to think of people associated with the Clinton regime, especially when I think about it from the perspective of the Black community and celebrate them. Now, my mother did teach me that if you can't say anything good, don't say anything at all. So I'm just going to subtweet the entire 1990s here. There were decisions made in the 90s that were not good for anybody, especially Black people. But when we come full circle on the conversation of what it was to have not only grown up in, but now to see the fruition of neoliberalism, the economic paradigm. And I want to be clear, we throw these words around sometimes, and I know I do it on this show. We've done it in the past, but neoliberalism is an economic paradigm. It is an economic paradigm that this United States subscribes to. We have, in some cases, lost tremendous, not in some cases, it is just a matter of American history that this economic system has not been good to Black people or working people. And this is not a mistake. This is a design. And if we're going to operate in the system, there's another thing that we have to do. We have to accept the reality that is around us and be able to make the changes necessary for us to survive. We're going to be talking about that momentarily as soon as we're joined by our guests. I want to move on to one more story before we continue the overall conversation. I want to draw our attention to what's going on in Florida. There's a lot happening around the country that is connected. The legislation that we see passing around the country in different states, they're not in isolation. They are coordinated pieces of legislation, generally written by a foundation called ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange. This legislation now in Florida has moved us to the place where it is an all-out attack on anything that is not a traditional conservative ideology, including the LGBTQ community. I want to bring attention to the protest that is happening from Disney employees who walked out over the Don't Say Gay bill. This is according to CNN. Disney employees staged a walkout Tuesday in protest of the company's response to Florida's controversial parental rights in education law, which has been dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill. Nearly 60 employees gathered after the walkout and voiced their dismay over the recent bill passed by the Florida state legislature. We had a chance to talk with State Senator Chevron Jones about the passing of that bill. The bill places strict limits upon Florida teachers regarding what they can say about gender and sexuality in classrooms. Disney employees involved in the walkout are demanding that the company cease contributions to politicians who support the bill. They also demand an end to Disney construction in Florida until the measure has been repealed. Disney CEO Bob Chapek received harsh criticism for failing to immediately speak out against the bill. He has since apologized for his hesitation. I want to be sure this protest is to stop Disney's contributions to the politicians who are harming the people of Florida. And I want to be sure to double down on that one more time, because we are in an intentionally obtuse time in American history where any action of accountability is labeled as cancel culture. But this isn't cancel culture. These are employees who are standing up, using their voice and demanding that the corporation that they give all of their time to, their 40 hours a week to, not be affiliated with the hate-filled bill, the Don't Say Gay bill in the state of Florida. We'll be covering that. We're going to most certainly keep our eye on that bill in the state of Florida, because it is a part of a tapestry, a meticulously interwoven tapestry across this country that is using legislation to ensure that we erase all of the gains of the 20th century. That said, I want to shift gears. We mentioned earlier the conversation about Black wealth and why it is so important for us to not only discuss the system as it is, but also discuss how it is we can survive and thrive in this system while we fight for liberation. I'm joined now by Michael D. Watson II. He is a financial advisor at Northwestern Mutual and Watson Wealth Management. I had a pleasure of connecting with this brother, and I wanted to bring him on the show. Good morning, Michael. Thank you first and foremost for joining us. How are you this morning?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me.
The pleasure is ours. You know, one of the things that I had a chance to talk to Brother Mac when it comes to finances around here. Brother Mac is our financial guru. He's been in the game for quite some time. He's out working on the Black Heritage Days calendar. But I had a chance to talk with him about you and you coming on the show. Tell us why it is so important for us to look at Black wealth, full stop.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know, first off, thank you for having me again. And speaking about Black wealth is something that I'm very passionate about because when you take a look at, you know, how long we've been here, the wealth gap in America between our culture and other cultures is over $200,000. And a lot of that comes because we were not financially educated and we never received that financial literacy that other cultures received, you know, sitting around the dinner table pulling up, because we know a lot of these things are not taught in school. And so my passion for building Black wealth comes from me not growing up with that wealth blueprint. And the more that we get, the wave of Black wealth is really trending now. And the more we're getting around people who understand how to really build wealth, it's definitely going to help us to decrease that wealth gap in America that we've seen for so many years.
I'm reminded of the article, I believe it was in The Atlantic, that said it would take the average Black family over 200 years to amass or to close, rather, the wealth gap between the average Black family and the average white family. But I'm also surrounded by conversations about the nature of this system inherently being something that exploits. So where do you personally find that balance operating in a system that, you know, as you look around us, it's not necessarily doing good by Black people? How do people survive in a system that's designed to exploit them?
Honestly, brother, it's all about education. Right. I base my financial planning practice all around financial education. Being able to get in contact with other brothers that can teach us how to build wealth so that we can start to, you know, really impact the system and close that wealth gap. But I know that's easier said than done, because when you look at a lot of financial advisors, they don't typically look like us. And so that's why you have brothers like myself who are out here on a mission, on social media, giving seminars, doing shows like this, so that we can get in front of our people, so that we can be the voice and actually help close that gap and provide the impact, the knowledge, and the education so that we can disrupt the system.
I had a chance to speak with a sister in the tech industry who has matriculated through the industry. And one of the things that she said that struck me, and I never will forget it, she said that she uses her investments as a means of protest. I never really considered that. And then actually a little more context, she was saying that she saw it as an expression of and as an extension of her activism, meaning where she chose to invest, not only where she chose to invest, but what she chose to do with the profits. Talk to us about how money can be used as a form of activism for Black people, or for all people for that matter. I mean, let's just be frank.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really, I agree with that, being able to use your money to make an impact through, charitable donations, giving back to educators, giving back to foundations, Black-owned foundations, et cetera. But honestly, I'm going to be real honest with you. The way that our culture is systematically marketed to spend our money the wrong way, until we can actually start to fight back and realize that a lot of the things that we're seeing on TV and music, entertainment, what have you, is marketed for us to spend our money in the wrong ways. Right? Now, I'm not saying to don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that as Black people we shouldn't go out there and enjoy the fruits of our labor. But I'm always a big proponent of having a spending plan where, okay, we have the dollars coming in, but we are investing in ourselves first before we are investing in everyone else's pockets, funding everyone else's retirement plans, funding everyone else's savings accounts, because we matter. We matter the most. We matter first. And if we start to collectively bring that mindset together, now that's when we really start to impact. We start to build the wealth, and people start looking at us different. They start looking at us for investors, for the ones who can provide the investments, as opposed to us having to go out to other people to get the investments.
One of the things that struck me in our first conversation, and I'm looking forward to having you back and discussing this more, we'll be joined by Dr. Mack, and we'll expand this conversation. One of the things that struck me was when you said you have a goal, and correct me if I have the number wrong, but you said you have a goal of how many families are you trying to get to a particular wealth? What was that goal? Help me remember that if that jogs your memory.
Absolutely. So it's actually a part of my mission. So I have a mission, and I have a mission statement. So my mission is to be a financial educator. I want to create financial independence through expert guidance and accountability. I want to change the narrative around wealth preservation and help 1,000 families achieve a 7-figure net worth and generational wealth. That's very key.
Wow. 1,000 families generate a 7-figure net worth in generational wealth. I'm glad I didn't say it, because I thought it was 7 families, and I was going to say, let me be one of the 7 families. But you're saying you're trying to spread this to as many people as possible, and I think that's exactly what we want to start doing here on this show. Because I can tell you one thing for sure: liberation ain't free. You're going to have some stacks to help get our people free around here. Would you agree, Brother Mike?
When you take a look at our Black billionaire heroes, when you say Oprah Winfrey has a net worth of $1 billion, Tyler Perry has a net worth of $1 billion, Jay-Z has a net worth of $1 billion. Notice we're saying a net worth of $1 billion. We're not saying that they have $1 billion in their bank account. We're saying that they have a net worth of $1 billion. And so that's key. Once we start, as a culture, once we start to realize how important our net worth is, and we learn how to start building that net worth, then we start to close that 200K plus net worth gap that we have in America right now. But once again, if I go back to the beginning of the mission, it's all about financial education first.
Financial education first. Michael, how can everyone get up with you?
So you can reach out to me on my Twitter. It's Michael Watson 2. My Instagram is Mr. Michael D. Watson. Email michael.watson@nm.com. And I'm sure that we can provide more information. Get in contact with me throughout the show. Or my website also is michaelwatson.nm.com.
Michael Watson of Watson Wealth Management and Northwestern Mutual. Brother, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to expanding this conversation a little bit more.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be on the clock with Georgia Ford, and we're going to be joined by the team from ActTV, our partners, as they give us coverage outside of the Supreme Court of the historic confirmation of the first Black woman Supreme Court justice. We'll be back with more of the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show right after this.
Now I'm stuck in the rain, dealing with all this pain. Why you gotta do me like that? Don't say you love me, take out and leave me. Can't get ugly, trust and believe me. Saying to myself, looks so deceiving. Trying to fight back to far from easy. I see your hands. Till I don't you know my life.
Good morning, people. Y'all know who it is. You know the one shot on the sound. James Williams, DJ Exclusive, is in the building. Good morning, everybody.
This beautiful distraction. Fell in love with a fatal attraction. I really let my guard down, now relax.
There we go. Good morning.
Put them all and got nothing back. I'm feeling so ashamed. I fell into your game. Why you gotta do me like that?
Yeah, I'm tripping. Anyway, y'all, good morning. Welcome again to the Mitch and Dixie Morning Show. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. On the Clock is coming up next with Georgia Ford. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, man. Good morning, everybody. Right, David. I know I don't either.
Gave you all of me, had me so deceived. You chose to lead my life, so my own in the cycle.
Sonny Wright, good morning. 1ATL Country Boy, good morning, Mama and Daddy. Love y'all, need it. Stephanie, good morning. Roller Dragon, what's going on? Snack Panther. And it still hurt. As soon as the show is over, I am heading on to the good old doctor. Yes, I is. Jessica Barrow, good morning to you. Rachel Ryan, good morning. Tiger, what's going on? All right, y'all, I think we are ready. On the clock. Dwayne, are we ready? All right, here we go, y'all. It's time. On the clock starts right now. Good morning, y'all.
Good morning. We are back now, joined by our partners at ActTV, Jocelyn McCurdy Keats, who is the ActTV DC correspondent, and Alex Lawson, who's a political director. They're joining us outside of the Supreme Court Live, where we are now on day 4 of the coverage of the confirmation hearing for Ketanji Brown Jackson. First and foremost, good morning to both of you. Tell us what you are seeing on the ground there. And is there any excitement or is there any gatherings around? What are you seeing there in D.C.?
So good to be here with you this morning, Ben. And there actually is a ton of excitement. There have been, I don't know, what would you call it? Protest actions in support of Judge Jackson. She's this poise, incredible duress. These Republicans, they were incredibly inappropriate. One colleague referred to their foolishness and mugging for the camera. It's just out of control. There's been a lot of support from her, both on the ground and across the country.
Right. Alex, speaking of some of the things that are out of control, we've been watching every day where the arguments coming from Republican senators get more and more ridiculous. Do they have any actual argument that can stick? Because otherwise, it seems like they're wasting America's time with some of their rambling.
Yeah, as per usual, they're wasting America's time with their rambling. The whole game here is they are actually just trying to drag this out as long as possible. They're looking for a mistake that they can exploit, and we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is, Lindsey Graham just looking unhinged. But the asymmetricalness of what happens is important to note, that they don't get in trouble for that, right? Like there's no penalty for Graham looking just ridiculous and just acting like a fool, or any of the other Republicans. So they can go as hard as they want because the media will basically be like, it's just boys being boys. It's just Republicans are terrible people. That's what we expect from them. And on the other hand, if she makes one mistake, it'll be just the thing, just the clip on TV over and over and over again. And that's what they're trying to do, drag it out and look for a mistake on camera that they can then turn into an ad. They're not bound by truth. They're not bound by some sense of decency. The Republicans have absolutely no shame. They're not hypocrites because they don't believe in anything, nothing but power. So that's all we're seeing here is this really disgusting DC process.
Absolutely. I love that. They're not hypocrites because they don't stand for anything except for power. I think that is the most succinct definition of a Republican. I want us to listen to a clip. This is of Judge Jackson responding and pushing back to Senator Tom Cotton, as he questioned her about her role in representing and standing on behalf of Guantanamo Bay detainees. Let's take a listen in.
So So no opinion on whether America would be safer or less safe if we released all the detainees from Guantanamo Bay?
Senator, America would be less safe if we don't have terrorists out running around attacking this country. Absolutely. America would also be more safe in a situation in which all of our constitutional rights are protected. This is the way our scheme works. This is how the Constitution that we all love operates. It's about making sure that the government is doing what it's supposed to do in a time of crisis. As Justice Gorsuch said, the Constitution is not suspended in times of crisis. The government still has to follow the rules. And so criminal defense lawyers make sure that in times of crisis, the government is following the rules.
Okay, let's turn to the actual cases.
I think, what they're trying to do there is, because of her work as a public defender and her work on behalf of criminal defendants, in some cases, they're trying to hold her accountable for any action. And we see in this next clip, they're actually trying to lay, and actually we're going to go with A2, Dwayne. Tom Cotton is trying to lay at her feet the reoffense of a child sex offender that was connected to her, Judge Jackson, during her time as a judge. This is in their effort, as you said, Alex and Jocelyn, to basically try to make anything stick. Let's take a listen to this second clip.
Have any recollection of it? Let me see if I can refresh your recollection. This is the order you signed, Judge, on April 17th, 2019, in USA v. Hawkins. And it says that you concur with the recommendation of the probation office to return him to a residential reentry facility for 180 days and to engage in various kinds of computer monitoring and computer monitoring and search. There's your signature over there, Judge. You really don't remember what?
Senator, that is a very, very common thing that judges do. I've sentenced over 100 people, and supervised release, which is the kind of post-incarceration condition that judges ordinarily impose, is something that's done on a standard form, which is what that is.
I understand you've done a lot, Judge, but none of them have been the centerpiece of your hearing for the last 2 days. Do you really expect this committee to believe that you don't remember what happened in this Hawkins case when it came back before you?
Yes, Senator, I do expect you to believe that's my testimony.
Well, I don't find it credible, Judge. It's been in the news for days. Senator Durbin has cited it being in the news for days. You've been asked about it probably more than any other case you've ever had. And I just don't find it credible that you weren't prepared for that matter in 2019. You know what I think? I think he got caught with child pornography again, and he wouldn't have if he had been in prison for the 8 to 10 years the guidelines called for in 2013 when you first sentenced him.
I want to bring you to the conversation, as always, Georgia Fort on the clock with investigative journalist Georgia Fort. And we are also joined again by Jocelyn McCurdy-Keats and Alex Lawson, both of our partners at ActTV. I just want to send this question around the table to everyone. It really seems as though they're okay with the absurdity. They're okay with being known as these senators who drug this justice through the mud, not because there was actual things against her, but because they had to put on a show. And I feel, George, I want to come to you first. I feel like we saw that frustration in the eyes of Judge Jackson. I just want you to jump in there, and good morning to you.
Good morning, and it is a pleasure to be on with you all live from D.C. You know, I definitely saw that yesterday, especially when we heard one senator asking about the anti-racist baby book, you know, and just continuously interrupting her. And I think what my question is, you know, how much of this is stemming from what happened to Kavanaugh, people being upset and frustrated because that was the nominee that they wanted to see get through? And how much of this culture is coming after Trump, right? So many folks hoping that he was going to get back in and now upset about that even, and it feels like there is some remnants of that culture from that administration that is continuing to corrupt our political body.
That's a great question. Jocelyn or Alex, if you would.
Well, I love everything Georgia said. I couldn't have put it better myself. And I think that anybody watching Judge Jackson's performance, if you want to call it that, which is unfortunate that this has devolved into theater, is just like you're going to feel the fury of this woman was editor of the Harvard Law Review. She served this nation as a judge. She served this nation as a public defender, taking on some of the hardest cases to uplift this democracy, and to have her be grilled by barely literate reactionary white supremacists is going to infuriate anybody who has ever had to watch an overqualified black woman be just egregiously emotionally harassed by white men who aren't 1/16 of the person she is. And it's funny, my mom isn't even a political person, and she sent me what Judge Jackson said about her daughters. I have not always hit the work balance correctly, but to my daughters, I love you. And it just really hurt and touched me to think of all the women out there who are doing 20 times the work they need to do and still carry the guilt of the fact that this democracy is not what it should be. Meanwhile, we have, as Georgia said, the culture of Trump, the culture of egotism, the culture of white supremacy, which makes no apology and makes a mockery of this public process.
Absolutely. Alex, jump in there with you if you would.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add. I mean, I can just be meaner about the Republicans. I mean, like literally Tom Cotton, the only reason he's not the dumbest person in the Senate is because Ron Johnson is also in there. So like the thought that this man, who is literally a fascist, he called for troops to be put in the street to put down peaceful protests that are protected by the Constitution. The thought that this man has anything to say about Judge Jackson's nomination is ridiculous. But that's actually the dance that is done in this town. The purpose of it is to survive through this process and not lose your cool. And she is not losing her cool at all. And that's the goal. So they will pay, the Republicans will pay no price for what they've done. In fact, they'll probably get a ton of money and attaboys. The crazier they are, the more unhinged they are, the more likely that they are to be brought on Fox News. Wow. That's what they're doing. They're mugging for the camera. And Tom Cotton, he's got his eyes on the White House. So that's what this is all about to him. It's just an opportunity for these craven cowards to advance their own political careers.
Whew. Alex, I'm so glad that you actually did get in there and say something more, because that's exactly what I needed to hear. Alex Lawson, political director for ActTV, and Jocelyn McCurdy-Keats, ActTV's DC correspondent, both joining us live from outside of the Supreme Court. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
Georgia, I want to come full circle to you because, it is frustrating. I can scarcely watch this without, my blood pressure going up, and I have pretty good blood pressure. But to see her exposed to constant inundation of stupidity, it's the insult on top of the injury.
Absolutely. Well, what I love is that she remains composed. She rarely do we hear her over talking anyone, even when she's interrupted multiple times. And I think that's a testament to her character and her integrity. But also, it's so easy for Black women to be misinterpreted as being the angry Black woman. And so I feel like some instances, you can almost see her overcompensating, where she'll be mid-sentence sentence mid-thought, and she'll be interrupted for the 10th time, and she just backs down and she'll listen. But she also did, when she was asked about her values as a judge, and when she talked about, the judges that had mentored her and her clerkships and what she'd learned, one of the values she talked about was listening, and how important it was to be able to truly assess the facts in a case, and to also be able to lead with empathy. And so I think she's also demonstrated, not only has she communicated her values very, very well, but she's also demonstrated them under some really tough circumstances. I feel like there have been more people who, have interrogated her and brought up Kavanaugh and confronted her with racism than there have been people who acknowledged the wealth of experience she's bringing to the table and how much she could add, and that she is overqualified for this position. But needless to say, Ben, what this would do for our nation to have a Black woman at the Supreme Court, what it would do for young women, young law students of color, it would just be tremendous. And I think that she would do more than add value. I think that she would bring some much needed change to the Supreme Court.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Sister Ford, I'm always excited when you join us. I have had a chance to go to your timeline, and you are presenting a new investigative series entitled What Happened to Ralph Bell. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Ralph Bell went missing in December of 2018, and his girlfriend, who he had children with, almost immediately went to police saying, something's wrong. And actually, if I remember correctly, his car was found. And so she found out that his vehicle was left abandoned. The car was running. The door was open, very unusual circumstance. And it was that indicated to her something was seriously wrong. Even though it had been a short window of time since he was missing, she knew something was wrong. And so she went to police. They lived in Stillwater, Minnesota, which has been known for different racist incidents. And so police there kind of just shrugged her off. And it took about 10 days, I believe, before they actually, filed a missing persons report legitimately. And those 10 days are critical. Anybody who watches, first 48 hours or anything like that, the first few days are very critical. And they lost that because the Stillwater Police Department, many think had implicit bias and felt like this was a Black man who had abandoned his family or had stepped out with another woman, or was just off doing his own thing. But they didn't think that he was missing, especially not just in the first 24 hours. And so what happened over a course of 3 months, there were mainly searches that were led by the family, but 3 months later, they ended up finding his body. He had multiple wounds, including one slit across his neck, another one in his abdomen area, and then his wrists. And so the question became, when the medical examiner ruled it a suicide, but also finding the knife in his pocket and a number of other very unusual things, the question became, how could he commit suicide? And still to this day, that's the determination that has been made. Ralph, his girlfriend, was pregnant at the time when he went missing. And so one day after his body was found, their son was born. So he has a 3-year-old son now who was born one day after his body was found. And I've had a chance to speak with his mother, his girlfriend, several other people close to the case. And the odd thing, Ben, is no one agrees on what happened to Ralph, but everybody agrees they don't think he committed suicide. And so you through this audio investigative series, you will hear me present all of the evidence, uncover new evidence, and really examine the timeline, the investigation, and try to uncover what happened to Ralph Bell.
Wow. There's so much there, Georgia. I'm hearing so many stories across the country. There seems to be a trend around the country of police agencies deciding to just close the book on cases without any proper investigation. And the overwhelming skin color of most of these cases that I've come across so far, actually not the overwhelming, all of them are Black. And it sounds like in this case, there's so many outliers that just scream for investigation, like dig into this and figure out what happened to this young man. And you're saying that they're still keeping this particular case as a suicide. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yep. And
wow.
And in the audio series, we're going to examine why. What was it? After doing a lot of interviewing, I was able to understand what it was that made them make that determination, and then also offer another side to that, because there are some very unusual things when you look at the way that this case was investigated and access to information, that has made it extremely challenging to get a second opinion that would be different than the original opinion that has been submitted. And so that's been a struggle for the family. But, Ben, I walked into this as a journalist with the mindset that there was a potential that maybe Ralph did commit suicide, and that could be the end of the road. Potentially, that could be the conclusion of my investigation. I had to go in with that objective mindset. And so what I am presenting is an objective look at the facts, listening to everybody who is involved, and to your point about reinvestigation, asking a very critical question. Well, I mean, how much unusual evidence, things that don't add up, does there have to be before agency says, actually this does merit a reinvestigation? We should re-examine evidence. And so it will be a 3-part series we're hoping to release in the next month. And I'm really excited to take people along this journey with me in my pursuit to uncover what really happened to Ralph Bell.
I am so disturbed by the story and the different stories that match this, but I'm glad to know that you're on the case, George. I'm glad to know that you are bringing light to this, and anything we could do, obviously, to share portions of it and to amplify. Where can people go? I'm assuming GeorgiaFort.com. Is there anywhere else they should go to get this podcast?
Yeah, well, if you go to GeorgiaFort.com/Ralph Bell, you can actually sign up to get notified once it's released. And absolutely, when we get to the point of releasing it next month, we are going to exclusively have some snippets played here first, just to give people an inside look on what this audio series looks like. This is actually the first audio series that I've ever done. But I was really inspired when I heard about Ralph Bell's case to do something different. People, they know me most for the visual stories that I do. I kind of have a format, 3 to 5 minute short stories that I do in video format online. But the amount of overwhelming evidence in this case that really needed to be considered just can't fit into a 3-minute video. And so I decided to do something a little bit different. An audio series is something I've been working on for a really, 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 really long time. And I'm just grateful that the family and the other people who I've interviewed have been patient in the process, because it really takes a long time to sit down with everyone who's been involved, hear their stories, edit them down in a way that's concise and accurate, and then go through all of the evidence. There's so much evidence in this case, so many videos where police were interviewing people. We've worked hard to really get our hands on everything, and people close to the case have been really generous in sharing the evidence that they've gotten. So it took a while, and still we're not done. We're still working on it, but just hoping to really present a series that makes people know, builds awareness about who Ralph is, and ask that tough question: what happened to Ralph Bell?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Sister Ford, as always, it's a pleasure having you with us. We look forward to exploring that question with you. Coming up after the break, we're going to be joined by Chuck Modiano, discussing the Howard teacher protests, as well as Representative Renita Shannon of Georgia. She's a candidate for lieutenant governor. We have a lot more to go. Like it or not, it's going down after DJ Exclusive takes us to a break. More Benjamin Dixon Morning Show after this.
9 a.m. to 10:30, yeah. Like it or not, is on your channel, yeah. Politics and culture is we change game like we're supposed to, yeah. Interviews.
Pablo, good morning.
We get to choose what gets the views. Like it or not, we're Queen Azor. It started now, so stick around. Like it or not, it's going down. Like it or not, y'all stick around. Oh, Rebecca Azor is coming through.
Like it or not, album coming soon. We can put that thing on Apple Music. Shout out to Ben who said he was working on the song. I still haven't heard a piece of clip or nothing of it yet. But that's my dog.
This is his show. He's a politics bro. I am your DJ Exclusive. Y'all know who I am.
The filibuster remix coming soon.
Like it or not.
Shout out Shoot the Dragon who was on this morning at the bus stop.
Like it or not, y'all stick around. Oh, like it or not.
Ooh, Dwayne, I can't hear you. Stop this phone. Like it or not. Okay, that's cool. Don't worry, what we can do is just let this ride out for a minute. You get the smooth focus of DJ Exclusive. You think gas prices are expensive? Have you seen chimneys? They're through the roof. Did you hear that FedEx and UPS are merging? They're going to be called FedUps. In a safety meeting at work, they asked me what steps I had taken to fire. Apparently, really big and fast ones was the wrong answer. Like it or not, it's going down. What has 5 toes and isn't your foot? My foot. I like that one. That was good. 5 toes, that's your foot, my foot. Let's see, we're going to the bank today. 97% of people are stupid. Thank God I'm in the other 5%. Okay. Hey, Dwayne, don't be worried about your smartphone and TV spying on you. Your vacuum cleaner has been gathering dirt on you for years. Here's the intro. Good morning, everybody.
Like it or not, with Benjamin Dixon, starts now.
Good morning. Okay, Hat. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth.
And not care who doesn't like it.
I wish I had the Indiana Jones theme song. Dun, 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 dun,
oh, Lord.
Or Carmen Sandiego.
Or Carmen Sandiego. Yes, Rebecca.
Wow. Wow. Rebecca, hey, sis,
y'all
it is so
not
good to
tired
see
of the same old tired jokes when I wear this hat? Y'all not tired? Y'all not tired?
We ain't saying that one in a minute. No, girl. It be like months and months and months in between time when you wear it, so we got to get it in.
She got a good rotation. You got a good space in between your rotation. We don't really see that.
That means that's when I'm close to going to get my hair done, and I don't want to lay down my real hair on the weave because it's too much. You know, you can't put heat on it like that all the time. So I have a appointment to get braids, so I don't have to call into work and be like, I don't have to be like. I I'm sick. I don't have to call in to work and do that. I'll tell you why. Because you know how when you call into work and you say you're sick and then you show up with braids, black girls across the world know what I'm talking about. When you call into work and you sick and then you show up the next day with braids, all the white people shock. They're like, oh my God.
Don't you can't tell all. Don't tell all the secrets, Rebecca. Don't
listen. We out here. What they gonna do? Tell me that's what I did. I wasn't sick. I could have been sick and my braid girl came over. You don't know. But anyway,
that's right.
I got a braid appointment, so I'm gonna tell you, I don't have to call off to work later because I got a message and said that the system is down. The system.
Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Oh my goodness. I don't know how we're supposed to be serious after this, but we have to shift gears and go to a regular. Actually, no, friend of the show. We could laugh with our brother Chuck Modiano. It has been a while since we had him on the show. Brother Chuck from DC, live and direct. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, and I want to go on record saying I like the hat, and I don't think Rebecca's got to explain anything to anybody. I'm just putting that out there.
Thank you, Chuck. You see, that's why I love you. I haven't seen you in a minute, my brother. How have you been?
I've been great. As always, I've always appreciated this show for uplifting D.C. locally, whether it has been the post-George Floyd uprising, the boycott Nelly's protest, the Get U.S. Out of Haiti protest that barely anyone covered, or what's been going on with Howard. So I always have to say that because D.C.'s not just a national place. Some stuff here happens locally. So I know you're from Atlanta, but, D.C. has something to say.
But
I love that.
Damn right. Damn right. Well, y'all got the mamba sauce, and I gotta, we gotta hold it down for the mamba sauce if we don't do nothing else, man. But shout out to everybody who watches us and supports us from DC. Chuck, I love that you said that there are local things happening there. Tell us about the protest and the strike that's happening at Howard University. What's going on there?
Right. So last week, the Howard faculty, adjunct faculty, and non-tenured faculty announced that they would go on strike yesterday, that they plan to go on strike because they're so severely underpaid, like a lot of adjunct faculty, but seriously at Howard. And as everyone knows, this comes off the Blackburn takeover protests back in November and December, where young people camped out for over a month in tents to protest the housing. And what happened is, at the 11th hour, at 3:30 a.m. yesterday, they reached a resolution before the strike was to happen at 9 a.m. So there was a significant victory as far as raising salaries for over 300 non-tenured and adjunct staff. Don't tell me protests don't work. Don't tell me threats to strike don't work. It doesn't mean that they've reached the promised land. There's still issues to work out, and it still has to be ratified, but it's a rare linear win.
That's what's up. That is what
do you think them being underpaid? I mean, I think that's something that's been probably an issue, especially at these universities. But do you think it has also to do with what's been happening in the recent events, like the pandemic and things like that? Are those things that you think have been a factor in them continuously being underpaid, especially in that particular time, those major times?
Yeah, well, there's the COVID pandemic. And then there's the DC gentrification pandemic, which also brings up cost of living pandemic. All of these things conspired. So to put a fine point on it, one of the metrics that Howard was using to gauge salaries was to have like 250 schools, whether they were in North Carolina or far away. Well, we all know the DC cost of living is way higher than a lot of these schools. So when they compared the DC salaries for adjunct professors at Howard, they weren't using the 9 DC universities, which they should have. So what happened is they were getting the lowest pay of all those 9 universities. Not only that, but getting the lowest pay of all the HBCUs, no matter where they were. Most of them that had a much lower cost of living. So you had professors who had PhDs making like $40,000 and driving an Uber and having a third job, and that was not uncommon. So, I mean, it was really bad. It was really, really bad. And we saw some of those professors show solidarity back in November for the students, and that there was incredible student and non-tenured faculty solidarity. And we have to make sure we understand the difference between a tenured professor and a non-tenured professor that usually make peanuts.
No, that's peanuts for sure. I would hate to say that I work for the most prestigious university. Well, one of them, because FAMU is the prestigious. But I work from one of the most prestigious universities. This is a historical university, and I have a PhD, and I'm getting paid $40,000 a year. And I got to add on to that to do Uber on the side on the weekends to take these little kids that I be teaching, right? At this school.
Oh my God.
Well,
I didn't even think about that, Rebecca.
Uber, and they're like, is that Mr. Phillips? And it's just like,
that's horrible.
It's a shame. It's horrible.
Is that Dr. Phillips?
You had 7 years to get your PhD. So some students told me they made more in their full-time job than their professor. I mean, what is that?
Wow.
It's an embarrassment. It's really sad. It's really, really sad. And I'm glad that there is a strike going on. I'm glad that they're making movement towards this. I remember when people were afraid to do things like this because they were afraid of losing their job or things like that happen. But no, I love that they're doing this because there has to be a stop to this. I don't want anybody to ever go through the whole phase of being like a teacher or an educator and not being able. They're educating me to go on and be better and not being able to pay for their housing, their food. We already have to do that every day. We're here being taught by you so that we don't have to go through the same thing. You should not have to. And I don't think any professor or any educator should be going through this at all. So, yeah.
No,
that's right.
I feel that. Chuck, go ahead, Chuck.
Well, I just wanted to add, there are layers to this. Some of it is unique to Howard's leadership that showed up back in November, but some of it is really systemic. So yesterday, American University had their own protest for their adjunct professors who are making less than $4,000 per course. So you're seeing solidarity, and I think you're going to see more of this because as universities become more corporatized, adjunct professors, more of them are being hired because you could pay them less, you could not give them benefits, and they end up working at 2-3 universities in D.C. So I think we have a larger systemic problem in addition to what was going on at Howard.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I hope that something really comes of it instead of just the conversation. Because, I know they put out the letter and, they're going to talk and the strikes are off. I don't want them to try to think that this is going to hold off time to give them time to look better in the media, for them to talk to their PR people, for them to just kind of get them out of the streets really quick while they figure something out. No, people are different now. I think people are privy to a lot of that stuff. So they'll be back in the streets if the conversation ain't worth nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Howard, if it doesn't go the right way, I promise you the Howard faculty and the students will be back protesting. I can make that a guarantee.
Right.
Okay. Matter of fact, let's look at this clip. Let's look at B1. It's an alumni member, a Howard alumni member that led the Howard strike and a student who supported the strike. Let's see this energy.
It's been a long time coming. It's taken a lot of work from a lot of different people to get here. My colleagues, my fellow non-tenure track folks, but also tenure track colleagues, students have been key to this. The alums have been key to this. The broader community has been really important. We are still waiting to make sure everything goes through. It definitely involves a significant wage increase that I think when we release it to our bargaining unit members, I think people will be very pleased with. I was very pleased to see it. Core of things is us holding on to people who care about this university, who care about these students, and to know that we've lost so many over the last 4 years, and that we may continue to lose some. That hurts. That hurts a lot. And so there's some bittersweetness to it. For the university, I think this is a big victory. This is really important to say, is that there are some issues going on with how students are being treated right now. I know that some of our students are being hit with handbook violations. It's really disappointing seeing our students being hit with these attacks just for speaking out, for doing exactly what we're here to teach them to do.
It was so disheartening to me. I'm a full-time student, but I also have 2 jobs. I work a full-time job and I have a part-time job. And to hear some faculty telling me how low their salary was, it was insane to me. Not that I'm not deserving of, my salary, but there were moments where I'm sitting in a classroom and I'm being taught by an instructor and I know that my salary is more than theirs. That's really like hard to wrap my head around.
They have a PhD.
And they have a PhD. We have all these factions of Howard that are dealing with all of these issues, and we all keep feeling like we're not being heard. And it was good to see that they got a win. I believe that there is strength in numbers and there's shared struggle. These are the people that pour into us. These are the people that teach us. These are the people that help find us housing, help the things that you don't think that professors are doing, they're doing behind the scenes. So of course we're going to stand in solidarity with them. We're going to collect their struggle. We're going to keep supporting each other because the alumni, the faculty, the students, if you don't have those factions together, you don't have Howard University.
Chuck Modiano on Twitter at Chuck Modi1. I want to say thank you for the coverage, brother. It's easy for us to cover it because you're there getting it. So thanks so much for what you're doing, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it, as always.
It's always a pleasure. Rebecca, James, we are joined now by I want to say friend of the show, representative, state
she is
representative.
A friend of the show. What you talking about? She friend of the show.
You know, can we claim people, or people have to? Or is that something we can say, or they say it themselves?
If you've been on this show one time, that's enough for us to be like, that's our cousin. What you talking about? That's our cousin.
Cousin is on the screen. State Representative Renita Shannon. She is from Georgia's 84th Congressional District. And she is also, I'm just finding out, a candidate for lieutenant governor in the state of Georgia. First and foremost, welcome back to the show. Good morning. How are you?
Let's go.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, you can claim me as your cousin. That is
cuz. So now that we're all family, I want to just start before we talk about all the crazy things that's happening. I do want to talk about how excited I am to hear that you're running for lieutenant governor. Tell us what made you decide to jump out there and how it's going.
Thank you. So yes, I'm running for lieutenant governor. Things are going great with the campaign. I'm running because the regressive policies in Georgia have just created such a harsh reality for so many folks in Georgia, particularly working Georgians. And we really need a sea change in policy. I've spent my legislative career finding harm in legislation and knowing policy well enough to be able to find the harm, particularly for Black and brown folks, and then fighting against it. So this is really me taking it to the next level to make sure that we can have government that is truly representative and not just passing policies that benefit the folks who've been able to vote for the longest in this country, white men, because that's really what most of our policy looks like in the state of Georgia and across the country.
Wow. Yeah, you know, now the reason we brought you on, I mean, you could come on anytime you want to, because Georgia Republicans have passed a bill that would transfer power from the State Board of Election to the Georgia Board of Investigation, law enforcement agency, to investigate elections. Now, I had a chance to talk with you about this yesterday. Could you just, before we jump into it, help us to understand what Republicans are doing on the state level and why it is detrimental?
Sure. So this is a prime example of what I was talking about. People not understanding the harm that's being created in policy, particularly for Black and brown communities when they advance these policies. HB 1464 is a bill that basically would allow the GBI to have first line jurisdiction to be able to investigate elections. So when you think about this, it's similar to what Florida's trying to do with the election police. And so one of the things that I did when I spoke against this bill was remind folks of what happened in Quitman, Georgia, when a handful of Black folks, predominantly Black women, decided to try to have some Black representation in a county that was majority Black but had all white representation. This was in 2010. Brian Kemp was still the Secretary of State. And let me tell you, he had these Black seniors arrested 4 days before Christmas for having the audacity to flip a seat and gain representation in Georgia. Wow. And as a part of that process, he involved the GBI to investigate the elections. The entire event was so stressful that one of the folks who was being investigated actually died awaiting trial. And so yes, it's shocking because that sounds like something out of the 1960s, but it's not. This happened in 2010. And these are the things that folks need to, at a time where Republicans across the country are trying to make sure that we don't have an accurate teaching of history or that history is not taught at all. We need to understand history because these policies are good for everyone.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, I think this ties right into the representation of, like you said, all of these leaderships, these white men and their fear of us teaching this. Like, this was in 2010, you said. This sounds like it was something out of the 1960s or before. I mean, but this happened in 2010 right here in Georgia. And these white men, these white leaders walk around here abusing, black people, black constituents, black people flipping seats, black people coming in. They don't look at them as if they should be deserving of these spaces, right? Because they know how powerful black people in these spaces will be, just like you, Renita, just like you, as you are taking on this role to become lieutenant governor. I mean, how has that been for you, even knowing what our representation already looks like, and what he has done and what he may be able to do? How does that look like for you?
Well, so people know my legislative track record. They know that I'm a person who's unafraid to speak truth to power, and that I know policy. I make it my business to read every single bill. My colleagues know me as the bill reader. And that's important because when you are trying to create legislation that will protect everybody and make sure that no community falls through the cracks, the folks who are the best to do that are Black queer women like myself, who are at the intersection of so many different identities. They understand where the harm is going to be created. So the campaign is going well. People, I always say, I always run because of the issues. And so that is what has led me to run for lieutenant governor.
I love that. That's fearless. That's unapologetic. And I also saw that, I mean, you say, you read, right? I saw that there was a video of you and you were saying, when everybody else is gone, I'm there reading. I'm over here going over and combing through. And how does that make a difference for you? Does that make you more knowledgeable against the rest? How does that make a difference for you?
It does, because I have to say that's one of the things that was very shocking to me entering the legislature in 2017 was that most of the folks who are in office are just listening to their political parties about how to vote on bills. But when you come from a background of community organizing like myself, you understand that both parties have a tendency to create harm, especially for Black and brown communities. And so it's important that we are understanding that policy is more than just words on a paper. It actually has impact on communities. And so for me, that has been reading every single piece of legislation and understanding where folks can fall through the cracks and what will not be good for us. And so HB 1464 is a prime example. If you look at my speech on the floor, before I talked about how Black seniors have literally been prosecuted by the GBI for just having the audacity to run for election and win, I also talked about some of the poor language in the bill, using the word handling of ballots and making it a crime if you don't have a poll official present. And so one of the things I brought up was the language is so loose and so poor in this bill. What does the word handle? And so when you have language that's so poor and so loose in these bills, what happens is prosecution becomes subjective. And we know that means that Black and brown folks are going to feel the brunt of loose language.
That's right. That's right. That's my concern. We have a clip of you speaking to that exact point. I want us to play a portion of that because my concern is this: with this legislation, they're rewriting what's legal. I mean, I know that's obvious, right? But they're making it very, very possible for Republicans to get away with voter suppression, to get away with these different tactics that are going to make it almost impossible for Black people to maintain power. You spoke so eloquently about it. Let's play a couple of minutes of that clip, Dwayne.
I rise to speak in opposition to House Bill 1464. Several provisions in this bill really are written so loosely, and the language is so poor that there's really not a way to comply with this bill. There's really not a way to know if you are complying with the bill. I want to first draw your attention to Section 12, line 745 through line 751, and I'll read the section. No ballots shall be handled without a poll official being present and without documentation on the chain of custody documentation forms of who is handling such ballots and when and why such ballots are being handled. After the activity requiring the handling of ballots is completed, such ballots shall be resealed in ballot boxes or other secure containers, which shall be recorded and witnessed on chain of custody documentation forms as specified by the Secretary of State and shall be signed by the persons having custody of such ballots. This section is something that I brought up in committee when we saw this provision in a separate bill that came through governmental affairs.
the language is written so loosely, and it's requiring you to have a poll official present when ballots are being handled. What does the word handled mean? When you look up the word handled in the dictionary, it says to feel or manipulate with hands. Or a second definition is to manage a situation or a problem. So what are we talking about here? Are we saying that you've got to have a poll official available if you touch a ballot, if you move a ballot? I mean, literally, if you pick up a ballot that falls on the floor, do you have to call a poll official to supervise that?
Representative Shannon, that is, I hear you keep speaking about the unclearness of the language. This sounds like a catch-all trap. What do we do about this?
Yeah.
Well, Ben, it is like you have been in the legislature with me. You're right. The language is so loose because it is a catch-all trap. So that at the end of the day, when Black and brown voters show up to exercise their power, the Republicans will have a way to basically yank that power back and say, okay, you didn't do what you're supposed to do. So what we really need to have folks do is, number one, elect leaders who are committed to creating policy that works for all of us, not just the folks who've been able to vote the longest in this country, which are white men. The second thing we need to do is be reaching out to these elected officials to tell them that we understand what you're doing and we don't like it. This bill has already passed the House. It has not passed the Senate yet. We have time. We need folks who live in Georgia to call the governor and say, we see what you're doing and we don't want you to continue destroying our elections. Veto this bill.
Absolutely. State Representative Renita Shannon, also candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Thank you for bringing attention to this legislation. And I want to encourage everyone in our audience to do exactly that, to reach out and let them know we have our eye on you. We're not just going to sit by. Thank you so much for your time this morning, sister.
And before you get out of here, let people know how they can support your campaign, how they can follow you, because I think that's really important. Because right here, we're going to stand for Renita Shannon. So tell people how they can find you.
Thank you so much. Yes, this is very important. Being that I'm a legislator, when we're in active legislation, we cannot accept fundraising. We cannot accept campaign dollars. So beginning April 5th, you will be able to donate to my campaign. We have been in session for 3 months, which means I could not take any contributions for 3 months. I need a lot of help. I need your money. I need your time to volunteer. I need you to share the campaign. So please go to RenitaShannon.com, sign up to be a volunteer, share this interview, share information about the campaign. Again, that's RenitaShannon.com.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to that website. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, sister.
Thank you for having me. Bye, cousins.
Bye,
cuz. Hey.
Bye, cuz.
Yeah.
Bye, cuz.
You think this is family. And I'm going to tell you why she's family, because, you know, she came on the show. I remember she wanted to come on the show, and I was like, yes, come on. You know, she got a story to tell. And then she brought her sister on. She was like, no, you need to get Park Cannon on here.
That's right.
And then we was like, yes, we do. And, you know, and I think that's family. You know, they're going to be like, y'all know, you don't know Ben and them? You got to get on that show. And she's telling us, you don't know Representative Park Cannon? You know, she got to be on the show. She got to story to tell. So I love it. That's family right
Absolutely. There. I absolutely love it. This is family too. We have a whole lot more show to go. We're going to be joined by
Olayami. Right? That's
no, Olayami.
You know, there's a certain part of the show where my mouth just says, hell no, it's time to go. But Ole Olurin is going to join us in a few minutes. And we're also going to be joined by Pascal Bobo of the Pascal Show. So we got a lot more show to go.
Pascal.
We got the islands in the building today, huh?
Yeah.
We got
the island boy.
Island boy. The island boy.
Hey, fooling with y'all today.
What would you do if you ran into those dudes in the forest late at night? Like, those boys,
I wouldn't be scared of Kodak. That's crazy. I wouldn't be scared of Kodak. But if I saw them boys,
I would be scared.
If I saw them white Cuban boys, I'd be scared as hell.
Man, come around the corner talking about island boy.
Island boy. I'm like, how you get your hair to do that? This is not right. It's all wrong. It's all wrong. I can't see no white boy in bolos. It's just all wrong.
What David said he think they were drug addicts. Yes, I think that'd be straight up methods.
I don't know if they are. And when I say drug, yeah.
Rebecca has a big heart, y'all. Rebecca has a big heart. She I know my sister.
Where my friends at? Where our other cousins at? Where we going?
Well, no, I think what we
Yeah, no, I think we
want to take a
we
break.
actually have some free time.
We're gonna take a breather.
We have some free time. I don't know what to do with it. What you?
Well, we're gonna have Bubba let us know what to do with it. He's about to transition us properly into
Dwayne.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so we're not going to take a break. Okay, so we're not going to
play some background music, Bubba, and tell us a joke or something?
So Rebecca called for a joke. She don't normally call for jokes, so when Rebecca called for a joke, I gotta do it. What's the difference between a vegan and a computer programmer?
Wait, the difference between a vegan and a computer programmer?
Yes. One is disgusted by a rack of lamb, and the other is disgusted by a lack of RAM.
Oh my God.
Okay, RAM.
That was a bad joke, man.
How does a hamburger introduce his girlfriend?
Didn't laugh at that one. It ain't funny.
Right.
I don't know. How does he introduce his friend?
Yeah. How does a hamburger introduce his girlfriend?
I don't know.
Patty.
Oh my God. Okay, that's a good one. That's my kids would like that.
From Doug is black. Patty mayonnaise.
Yes.
Okay.
Wait. But she was white, wasn't she?
No, I don't think she was. I think she was black, and she had a fro, but they just made it blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I love? I love that our show just went from like covering the serious news that's happening on Capitol Hill to now we just in the trap house. Turn it up a little bit.
I hate y'all.
We just a chill, man.
It's Friday Junior. I'm off of my
Friday
job,
Junior, okay.
The system is down, about to get brain.
Won't he do it?
But that's all right. I'm about to go to the doctor and probably get my arm put in the sling, but it's okay. I'm still gonna be here. I'll be out work for a couple of days, so that's cool.
That's good. Is it paid time off, or are they using your time?
Time, more than likely my time. Be calling off work. I mean, it just depends on if I. You know what? Never mind. I can't say those things on this. Beyonce's internet.
Yes, we have learned not to say everything that comes to our mind on this internet. So
okay,
we've grown.
Right.
Oh
we've
man,
grown levels, so many levels.
and we've grown comfortable enough to just be here vibing live on air with you and not really care. Welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to catch a vibe and not care who doesn't like it.
No, Ben, you had to let me finish that because that's my part. You can't just come in and try to remix it and then just.
Oh, my bad, Shaw.
And then just go all over the place with it.
I'm bopping now. I'm sorry. I'm following the music. All right. Who wants to do the grand introduction of our... Go ahead, James.
Bubba.
Oh, someone asked me to name 2 structures that hold water. I was like, well, damn.
Well,
y'all welcome to the screen, our brother from another mother and our sister from another mister, Olay and brother Pascal. Y'all welcome.
We 5 deep. We 5 deep. We on Voltron.
Olay, you weren't ready? That be me too. Look, we got our cousins, you know what I'm saying? Our cousins on the show, you know what I'm saying? You know, we got Miss Olerin. You know, she's a celebrity on Twitter or whatever. I saw her last night on BNC. I said, girl, give us skin and give the people the red brows, okay? Give us the nice, beautiful touch with the brows. And then I said Pascal, because I've been watching Pascal. He been covering all these missing folks. When we not looking, he literally is like, y'all not talking about this missing person. Let's go ahead and let's discuss this story. And I like that. I like his takes on stuff too, because, you know, the way that he gives his news, it's always digestible. So I love that about you for, doing your thing. I just wanted to give y'all love before we started the show.
She's saying I'm unintelligible. Okay, I appreciate it.
That's exactly what I said. That's it. That's the one.
I appreciate it. No, seriously.
And then Olay had in the background on BNC what she got right now. So I know the people were real twisted. They was real twisted. It. Yeah, it looks good. How are you guys today though? How are you guys doing?
Chilling. How are you?
I woke up
Chilling
for
like
you.
a villain.
I woke up for you. Deep in a dream. I went to the dream, Rebecca.
Really?
Rebecca, I ignored 2 alarms. And then that 3rd one, I was like, I don't want to have to make excuses. Let me get up.
So you was dancing to your alarm in your dream, and then you was like,
in a dream.
I gotta get up.
Knocked out. KO. I swear I felt like I just went to bed.
What was funny is yesterday my alarm went off so many times that it killed my phone. So here it is. I'm thinking I'm about to get up, and I'm like, man, my alarm not turning on. I'm hitting the phone. I'm like, this damn phone and died. I'm about to miss the show.
About to miss the whole show.
I'm glad that you woke up for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that you did, because I feel like who other than to have this conversation with, for real, when it comes to these last 3 days that this woman was put on the cross. Amen. Judge Ketanji Brown. Like, I hated to see it, but I understood. When I did see her and I watched her, I thought of, you and, one of your recent events and being in the courtroom and being talked to crazy. Nobody has respect for people, in their positions and who they are. If you black, you just get disrespected. It doesn't even matter. Right. But anywho, as we all have watched, the last 3 days have been hard to watch, with Judge Brown being put on the cross, in a spectacle, being made a spectacle in her confirmation hearing. So I know that you've talked a lot about that online, Olay. So what's your take on it?
Listen, I'm not surprised. I want to say that. I expect nothing more but disrespect. Not just that she's a Supreme Court justice nominee. She's a black woman in the legal profession. That is what I anticipate if she is surrounded by a sea of white people. So I'm not surprised. And I almost wouldn't engage it if I didn't have to know what's going on and comment on it, because I hate to let these people ruin things for us, right? Because we know what it is. It sucks to have to be confronted with the way they will delegitimize you, and to see somebody so highly qualified be talked to by mediocre fools and disrespected all day. It's something, because it shows you that even as a black woman, even when you ascend to what is the highest point in the line, you've accomplished all that you can accomplish in a country where they claim they want it to be a meritocracy. And here you are with all the merit, and they want to dismiss you and disregard you and disrespect you. So I'm not shocked. I'm just waiting for it to be done so she don't have to sit here and deal with these people anymore, because it's just crazy the way mediocre, unintelligent, very obviously racist white men can sit there and dog whistle all day and listen to themselves speak and have a soapbox just so they can have the clips, replay on Fox News at night, because that's who it's for. It's for their base. Right. They disrespecting this black woman as performance theater for their boys. So I'm not shocked. I'm shocked. I'm not shocked. I'm barely offended by it. I just want my girl to get what she needs and have to come out these people's face.
Okay. Before we get to you, Pascal, look, Pascal, you ready?
You
look.
don't need to.
It's the face. Pascal was
said everything.
Before
drop the mic and walk off the stage, she said everything.
And we're not even done with it. And I'm surprised she's a little too calm right now. But before we get to you, Pascal, I wanted to play a clip so that you guys can visualize and see exactly what all of us were feeling, especially us black women who know what it's like to be spoken to like this. Let's take a look.
Case, you and I talked about this yesterday. You've been able to think about it overnight. This is a case where you had an 18-year-old who possessed and distributed hundreds of images of 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds, and you gave him, frankly, a slap on the wrist sentence of 3 months.
Senator,
do you regret it?
I don't remember whether it was distribution or possession in the law.
Both. Do you regret it?
In the law, there are different crimes that people commit.
Judge, you gave him 3 months. My question is, do you regret it or not?
Senator, what I regret is that in a hearing about my qualifications to be a justice on the Supreme Court, we've spent a lot of time focusing on this small subset of my sentences, and I've tried to explain.
You regret that
many
we're focusing
times
on your cases? I don't understand.
No. I'm talking about the fact that you're talking about
child pornography cases?
Very serious cases.
I'm glad we agree on that. Don't you think we should be focusing on that?
Some of which involve conduct that I sentence people to 25, 30 years.
3 months in this case, Judge. Do you regret it? You haven't answered my question yet.
Senator,
do you regret this sentence?
Senator, I would have to look at the circumstances. What I'm telling you...
You know the circumstances. We discussed it for half an hour yesterday. There's a 55-page transcript, which I'm sure you've read. You lived it. As you've emphasized to this committee over and over, you've lived it, right? You said that You've been through all of this. You've looked at all of the images. You're the one who's had to endure all of it. You gave him a 3-month sentence. I just wonder if you regret it or if you stand by it. I mean, do you stand by that sentence?
Senator, in every case, I followed what Congress authorized me to do in looking to the best of my ability at all of the various factors that apply, that constrain judges, that give us discretion, but also tell us how to sentence. And I ruled in every case based on all of the relevant factors.
So when white people do this to you like this,
white people don't even get
that's not gonna make that. You don't what you. That's not gonna like intimidate me. I said what I said. Like stop putting words in my mouth.
That's right.
But it does intimidate them. I encourage you, Rebecca, getting your bag. I love to sit in with the white people.
Yeah, we talk about that, Ole.
You know that's my bag. I
like to look in the air and be like this. Like, fine, where the hell did they get that from? I like to look over here, and just look crazy. Because that's ridiculous.
If you really want to violate, you do a quick one of these. You put your hand up like, do this like you want to talk, but don't say nothing because the stress, get the anxiety running this fucking fast.
And to be a black woman in this particular space, I'm saying, like, you know what that's like. You're put on the cross in front of everyone, and a white man is talking to you and asking you the smallest thing that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. You clarified yourself, and he just said, I spoke with you for a half an hour on this yesterday, and I'm bringing it back for you to just say, like, and she's like, well, I already talked about this.
And she better than me because I love for somebody to open the door on foolishness because I got several points to be made here. First of all, how much time has this man spent in jail to call 3 months a slap in the wrist? Like, how much time has he spent in jail? And according to him, 1 day in jail is too many because he and the rest of his boys have been crying and complaining for the last year about any of the insurrectionists doing any time.
That's right.
So according to y'all, any time in jail is inhumane. Y'all been complaining about pretrial conditions for your insurrectionist buddies. So I don't know, 3 months is suddenly a slap in the wrist. Second of all, where in the Constitution, and by where I mean nowhere does it say that anybody is obligated as a Supreme Court justice or any official to be committed to mass incarceration? Where does it say that? That we need to have Supreme Court justices, legislators, or absolutely anybody is obligated to be supportive of this pro mass incarceration agenda? She's not. Third of all, I love how they don't seem to mention that all of these decisions that they're criticizing from this judge all seem to have been upheld. I don't hear anything about anything being reversed, any illegality, any unconstitutionality. They're not raising any principles or anything that would suggest why it would concern us, this one being the Supreme Court justice. All they're saying is, I am a Republican, and I would prefer you send these people that you typically represent that are poor black and brown people, because that's what would be in front of you in the criminal system. I would prefer that you send them to jail for as long as you humanly possibly can. But yet, in the same breath, while I continue to go down all the sex crimes you represented and criticize you, not for letting them go or letting them walk. You notice none of these cases they brought up of the people not been convicted or didn't go to jail or something like that. No. You sent all these people to jail. Their argument is, how dare you? It is morally repugnant or morally bankrupt for you to be defending people or even mitigating or giving any kind of leniency or compassion to people who are accused of sex crimes. And in the same breath, they turn around and say, hey, our Supreme Court justice pick, Kavanaugh, the one that was accused of sex crimes. I am still mad to this day that y'all weren't nice enough to him in these confirmation hearings. Because why? He was accused of a little thing like rape.
They mad about Kavanaugh. They want to throw him in there and then be like, you did this to my friend. And then starting the conversation, I seen yesterday that Graham had started the conversation by talking about them having a black woman as a potential nominee and how she was black. I just wanted to put it out there. She was black and nobody, and she was treated kind of the same way as you, but they didn't pick her. But I wanted to know that we too got a black friend, and she was Republican. It was the worst opening ever. It was trash.
And also, by the way, that don't help. I saw them try to make that argument like, maybe it was one of the Republicans I was speaking to on something this week, and I don't pay them no mind. Said. I was talking about their black Republican, and they were like, oh, to show that they were fair, that they didn't treat her nice either. They were like, we were tough on our our black pick too. Oh, y'all were? Does that help? I think y'all are devout racists, and y'all are saying even our own black pick we had to mistreat. I'm like, yeah, that seems That seems aligned with exactly what I'm saying about you good old white supremacists.
No, seriously. Now, Pascal, look, Pascal, I see you over there nodding. Listen, yesterday was a lot.
Oh, man.
It was I don't know how I stayed there with Ketanji just watching that whole thing. I don't know how I was up and just trying to it was terrible. And
12 hours. 12 hours, y'all.
Yeah, we sat there literally watching that. And that's why I'm like, all of us needed that day off, those 3 days off consecutively so that we can be in her corner. But you know who was in her corner? Even though sometimes he's a little corny, he was dusting his shoulders off. Cory Booker. And Pascal, what did you think about that moment? And how important was that for Judge Brown?
I think it was an amazing moment because it was a nice breath of fresh air, relieving some of this pressure, some of this tension that was been going on for the past 12 hours, y'all. They went after her for 12 hours. They did not let up. They wanted to break her. They literally wanted to break her. So what I loved about this is that Cory Booker, even though, I agree, he's really corny, but he did date Rosario Dawson, so I give him mad props for that. But still, what I love about this, I'm just saying, she's gorgeous. Moving on, the one thing that
she follows me on Twitter.
Oh, she does? How dare
Rosario Dawson?
I just had to throw that out.
You guys
I just had to throw that out there.
Energy right now. You guys are giving me that energy. I need you guys to settle it down. And
so here's the thing. What I really did appreciate is that he was basically saying, "Hey, keep pushing. Do not give up. We got your back." These kinds of things happen with people who are trying to get through adversity. That there are people out here cheering for her. She is not alone because 12 hours of them just nitpicking at the littlest things. I mean, it was the most ridiculous conversations and that were questions that were being hurled at her, all because they were just trying to take her down. They wanted to see her snap. They wanted her to show her true self. You know, what she really thinking in her mind, because you saw the looks on her face. You know what I'm saying? Those you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yes. And I know. We know exactly what you're talking about. All of the faces that were being made in that moment, I think Black women all over the world could, we just looked at it and we were like, every time, and then they would be like, you need to say something. You need to say something right now. You need to say something right now. And she's like, well, you're not giving me a moment to say anything, but she would do the pregnant pauses because I would be like, I don't know what I would do in that moment. But those pregnant pauses that we know we have to take because we're in a position right now that the world is looking at us and all these sea of white people want me to break. I could go here or I can go there, but I'm just going to go ahead and let my ancestors, like I was telling you, LA, speak through my face. But it's a moment that we all know. Mm-hmm.
That's such a reflection on their own white privilege. Because the idea that they even think they could break her. Because I'm like, what do you think she's been through to get there? I'm like, did you go to? I'm like, you've never gone to law school as a Black person. You've never been the only Black person sitting in a class filled with the exact same racists that are sitting around her now. This ain't her first dance. I'm like, why do y'all think that? Y'all think us sitting there, and you know what it is too? Because they're always holding you to their silly standards, right? Like it'd break you, silly boy. Y'all are still upset. Y'all still foaming at the mouth because your boy was foaming at the mouth years ago now. You know what I mean? He couldn't handle it. Y'all can't handle it. You can't get over it because you don't know adversity. In fact, you so aren't accustomed to adversity, plight, or any kind of challenge of any kind that you're looking at this man having to answer questions for his own conduct. As some kind of attempt to destroy him. So here you are abusing this Black woman, thinking you could break her spirit, but you never could. You never could, because there's a certain level of weakness that y'all possess that ain't her.
Yeah, and the experience that you speak of. Go ahead, Pascal.
No. I was just going to piggyback on that. What I was saying is that she was constantly trying to take the high road. Every single time she had an answer, it was very diplomatic. It was very well thought. I don't know if she had the questions beforehand, which I highly doubt, because they wanted to sweep her from under her feet, right? So just grab the rug right from under her. But how she responded, how she was so far, she has been holding her ground. She has been holding water, and literally the water keeps rising. But one thing that I did appreciate about Cory Booker is that he was basically saying, hey, keep treading water. You're almost there. You're going to be all right. And, and there's no way of growth without going through adversity. And that's the thing that I really respected from Cory Booker's
speech. And so yeah, it was a speech, and you know, and the experience that you speak of, Ole, we can see inside of her. Like, it's not that you guys are saying that she's experienced on paper, but she's experienced for this particular moment. They kept reiterating to her, and we'll get to that Cory Booker speech because I want you guys to hear exactly what he said to her. But they kept saying to her that they that. You know, aren't you supposed to be experienced? Aren't you supposed, like, where is your experience from? Where, and she's looking like, they were like, you were experienced because you were, you know, a judge here and there. You don't really have a background. They tried to break her down. But the truth is, and then they said the White House did, you know, get you prepared for this. And I looked at the TV, I said, no, they did not. Because she was already prepared as a black woman, as a black girl growing up to become a black woman, and you don't know what she had to endure in every seat that she sat in, every school that she's gone to, every shop that she shopped at. You don't know her dating, being with that white man, her coming from Miami, Florida to go up to this Harvard law school. You don't know what she's been through. This is her experience, and that's why she could sit in the middle of this room and look at y'all mother crazy right now and not say what's really on her mind.
You better pull up.
That's what her
Take your time, Rebecca.
And I want you all to hear what Cory Booker told this lady in that moment. Yo, Dwayne, play that.
Damn. In America who's gotten anywhere has done by being like Ginger Rogers said, I did everything Fred Astaire did, but backwards in heels. And so I'm just sitting here saying, nobody's stealing my joy. Nobody's going to make me angry, especially not people that are called in a conservative magazine demagogic for what they're bringing up that just doesn't hold water. I'm not going to let my joy be stolen because I know you and we appreciate something that we get that a lot of my colleagues don't. I know Tim Scott does. When I first came to this place, I was the fourth black person ever popularly elected to the United States Senate. And I still remember a lot of mixed people, white folks, black folks work here, but at night when people are in line to come in to clean this place, the percentage of minorities shift a lot. And so I'm walking here, first week I'm here, and somebody who's been here for decades doing the urgent work of the Senate, but it's the unglamorous work that goes on no matter who's in offices. The guy comes up to me, all he wants to say, I can tell, is, I'm so happy you're here. But he comes up and he can't get the words out. And this man, my elder, starts crying. And I just hugged him. And he just kept telling me, it is so good to see you here. It's so good to see you here.
Mm-hmm. Now, it is more to that clip so that y'all know that it's another part where he says, you know, speaking through the ancestors and everything. And that was like the main part. The other part, you know, he is a little cornball, but, you know, Cory Booker, he stood up and he said what needed to be said. And she needed to hear that.
Yes, because who else was telling her that in the room? Who else was telling her that in the room? And then to get it from your black colleague, I know he a little light-skinned, I know he a little corny, but in those particular times, and that is the moment that she chose to shed a tear. And I can tell you guys right now that I don't know why. I do know why, because exactly what the reason why, what I was telling you earlier. But I just really did not want her to shed a tear on these people. But then I had to look at myself and say, why do you feel that way, Rebecca? Because I was like, they're gonna try to make her look as weak, but she's been holding all this. But why should we hold ourselves back? We deserve to shed a few tears. We deserve to like celebrate. But they took every emotion. They made me feel like how I always feel. Yeah, like we can't be human. And she chose this particular moment to share with this black man. She chose the moment where she was being spoken to like a person, being seen, being heard, being, you know, praised, because she didn't get deserved. She didn't get to do that at all during this process. But for her, he was praising her and saying that she's come a long way and telling her that she deserves and all of that. This stuff that she needed to hear. That's the moment that touched her the most, and that's the moment that she shed that tear. But we should not be holding back no tears, because when these white women are crying and these white men are literally having a hissy fit on a damn stage, just I mean, all the red is showing. When they're doing that, it doesn't look crazy to us. But as black women, we are built in this idea to just be too strong, to just be the strong person in the room. We can't cry, we can't do any of that, because it's gonna translate to us being broken or the mad black woman. And I hate that for us so much. I really do. I do.
Well, the first thing I want to say is, the beautiful thing about what Cory Booker did is that's a true example of protecting Black women in real life, like doing it, not just saying it, but living that, right? Because he took that opportunity. That was done for her. We all know that. Everything Cory Booker said, we know. Black people know. Our community knows. Everybody that's watching it, we know exactly what the truth is. We know it. But he did that for her because she needed that. In a room of being torn down and attacked by a sea of racists. That's right. And not only did she need that, but the rest of us watching that, feeling that pain for her, we needed that too. So that's beautiful, and I want to credit him for that. Second, I'm glad she cried. I'm glad she cried because she is a human being. Black women are not superhuman. We are not some kind of special anomaly that we don't feel like everybody else. We feel the same way everybody else would have been incensed. They would have been in pain. They would have been in tears by a fraction. If they went to sleep right now and they dreamed about experiencing something like that, they'd wake up talking about they had a bad dream and their day would be rough, let alone you actually go through that. So I'm glad that she cried because she needs to show that. And my final thing I want to say is this. We can't please racists. Racists will never acknowledge the facts. They will never acknowledge the truth. They will never legitimize what is actually happening. So it does not matter what they think. Yes, all of the racists are going to say, oh, she shouldn't have cried. Oh, she shouldn't have done this. Oh, look, she's weak. Yeah, because that's what they'll say. Look how overly qualified this woman is. And all of their own systems of merit have verified that the things that they put stock into, their Ivy Leagues, their bar association, their courts, their ABA, all of those things, their systems of merit have already said what it is. And yet here they are pretending like they don't know that. So that is just a reflection of the fact that they will never give us the credit and the humanity that we deserve. So forget them. Don't even, who cares what they talking about? Who cares what they upset? Who cares about how they're going to receive it? We know that Black woman is more than qualified. Let me say this. It is a painful world where you could be sitting in a room where you are most qualified by a landslide. You could run circles around these people, and people in that room who are beneath you intellectually and in terms of qualification feel like they could talk to you in such a way that a Black man has to come and affirm you because that's what you're dealing with. So in that room, where people could already disavow facts and disregard what is reality to disrespect you, cry, girl. If you want to cry, you deserve that. You're the first Black woman to ever be in that position, and that's a big damn deal.
Amen. Damn right. Damn.
I think it was great that I think it was really great that she didn't break until he started to humanize the situation. Until he said, I understand where you are coming from because I was there. I've been there. I'm still there. I'm over here dealing with the same BS, but you're not alone. I think that was great because, I feel like if she broke down during her being cross-examined by every single Harry, Dick, and Tom, I think that it would have shown a sign of weakness, in my personal opinion. Then they would have taken that and it would have been plastered all over political news. They would have been like, Ketanji, Brown Jackson cries during her cross-examination, so on and so forth. They broke her. Then the Republican Party would feel they'd be patting each other on the back saying, yes, we did it. We broke this Black woman. But instead, she did not. She persevered. She pushed through. She was still extremely diplomatic, very well spoken with every single answer that she had. But then when Cory Booker, I know he can be corny, but when he finally spoke up but you can see the excitement that he had for having her come into this position, and then saying, I can relate and I can understand where you're coming from. I think it was I thought it was a beautiful moment. It was a powerful moment because he knows exactly what she's talking about, where she's coming from.
Yeah, I agree. But you know what pains me though? I actually, and this is something I get my own self a lot as a Black woman that, is a lawyer and is a political commentator, and you navigate, these Republicans and these racists. And, people give you a lot of credit for like compassion and or grace or being able to, be reserved or not respond to these people. And I actually hate that because that's not a strength special to me. All Black people know what it is to have to bite your tongue and reserve space in certain spaces and navigate that. What I actually respect is Black people that are able to say, you know what? Forget all that. Forget what you would appreciate, forget what y'all approve of. Let me speak up for myself because I actually hate how much Black women are applauded for being strong and for being fierce and for being advocates for everybody but ourselves. The only thing we get credit for doing for ourselves is sitting quietly and navigating people's disrespect classy. You know what I mean? That's what I hate. It's like, this woman has been a fierce advocate throughout her career. She's a judge. She's a strong woman. You know, she has all to say. She has to be powerful. And what all these people, especially all these white people, are like, you know, foaming at the mouth and congratulating her for is being able to sit there and quietly take disrespect while all this room full of white people get to act up and act crazy, and it never reflects on them in the same way. And I want us to start not even caring about talking about factoring in what is their perception, because they will always take it and be negative about it, because that's what they're going to do. That's what a racist does, right? Exactly. If she cries, she's weak. If she responds, she's angry, because she's a black woman, and they're always going to try to find a denigrator like
every single time. Every single time. And that's what I think my frustration was at. As a black woman watching this, I don't know why, let me get my natural lighting because my light just died. But I don't know why that I felt in that particular moment, like, please don't cry. But then I was like, why doesn't she get to cry? Then I was thinking of myself being on these other, these white networks and having to constrain myself and and if you go down the comment section of these huge white networks, they'll say, oh, her nails are distracting. Why did she put that color in her hair? And not listen to what I'm saying. I could be dropping points off in a very calm manner. And they're like, well, she really composed herself. And the moment where I say something that has to do with, hey, this is not an issue, but here's a real issue happening in the black community. And this is where this is a great juxtaposition to show you what it looks like in this white place and what it looks like in this black space. And they're saying, oh, here she want to come put race into it. This is why they don't vet who they bring on the show. She's not she's not this and that.
I don't even talk about race, and they still come for me. I every single time I go on the Hill, I literally design my argument around the argument they can't prepare for, which is
exactly
whatever argument isn't racist.
Sometimes it's something that comes in the moment.
As black. They so busy conflating you as being black that all they can prepare for is black. You're going to come up there and black, blackity, black. So
and it's both sides. It's liberals.
Both sides.
It's both sides. It's literally, like you said, we can't argue with racists. We can't fight them. What they see when they look at me as somebody that's undeserving. They look at Ketanji and they'll say, she got them dreads. She has that dark skin. She has a face that literally, well, she's probably going to cuss us out if she makes a face or whatever the case may be. That's what the comment section say about me. Because I'm talking with my hands.
They will do it regardless. And that's
what I'm like. We should not be, like you said, we should not be put in a place where people are saying, well, she contained herself. I like the way she did this. Coming from a meeting the other day at my corporate job, and the white I guess corporate manager, regional manager, he comes in and he says something, and I held my tongue for 2 seconds, and then I said something. But then somebody told me, you were composing yourself before that. Well, I was composing myself when I made my argument as well. We have to, I'm not going to sit here and be having to restrain myself, and then you pat me on the back. Every person that spoke to Ketanji towards the end, especially Senator Blackburn, the woman with the messy dog hair, she told her, she was like, I think throughout this whole time, you did a pretty good job. And then she pointed over to her family, and she discussed her family before proceeding to rip her apart as a person. You don't get to speak about my family, and you don't get to tell me that the way that y'all was cussing me out and everything like that, I was, I restrained myself. That shows that's a good quality in me. Instead of telling me that I'm pretty much unqualified as a judge, like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So I think there's a bigger problem here. The problem is racism, and like you said, we can't argue with racists. We can't give them that energy.
My thing is, to me, what's a reflection of how the system works is in all these situations, right? Whether we're talking about Ketanji, we're talking about your experiences, Rebecca, we're talking about mine. We know all these people are saying us, they're congratulating you on your grace or keeping composed. So they recognize, in and of itself, they're recognizing that they know you're receiving disrespect. They recognize that what you are dealing with is disrespect, but the issue is not with the disrespect, or they're not trying to do anything to stop this line of disrespect that you're experiencing. What they do is they police your response, because they every intention of maintaining this world where, as a black woman, as a black man, as whoever, you have to sit through this disrespect, and it's on you to police yourself and to respond in a particular way, because that's what they're going to say. And that's why I'm encouraging us to say, who cares what they're talking about? Because at the end of the day, these people if they don't respect what you are and who you are, they can't even see you as an individual because they don't respect you and your blackness. It does not matter how you present that blackness to them. If there was a way to win the respectability politics dance, we would have won it. We're a bunch of educated Negroes sitting up here speaking with them, doing all this in their spaces, all of that. So if someone could win it, we would win it. If somebody could win it, Ketanji would win it. And you see how they are carrying on and how they are treating us. So it's incumbent upon us to say, you know what? Let's stop trying to meet a standard they've already told us 960 times we can't meet. And instead, how about we start living for us and treating ourselves as real people? Why do we as Black people subjugate our own feelings, experiences, and responses to white sensibilities and white response and white reaction that they're going to have anyway? Why?
Because we were taught to do that. We were taught. This is something that was literally said. Yes. So this is something that we have to unlearn. For a lot of us, this has been something that has been built from yay high. Like, you know, me being growing up Haitian in an American world, and me being told by my parents, you know, don't speak this language in school because they're going to think that you don't speak English. And I didn't even speak the language in school. They just knew I was Haitian. They put me in Esau, right? And that to me, it was systemic. That it was okay for them to do that. And I thought, don't say anything. My dad said, don't say anything. Keep your head down. You'll get through this. We had to go through life that way because, especially in that time, because we knew that being Black is a problem. But now I'm at a place where it's like, I'm thankful that we are here in 2022. I'm thankful that we have platforms like this to talk about the situation. I'm thankful that we can talk about our own experiences. And I'm thankful that we get to see a day where a Black woman is in these type of positions. And I think I'm at a point where I am tired for Black women having to sit and endure, be strong, endure and constantly endure and never get an opportunity to sit and breathe and say, wow, I did that. Wow, I deserve.
And that's why we got to say it. And we got to say it. And we got to start it for ourselves. That's the problem. Like I said, Black women do a lot of affirming everybody else, a lot of defending everybody else, a lot of speaking up for everybody else's rights. And then for ourselves, the test is that we can sit quiet. Why we got to be an angry Black woman and an advocate for everybody else but us?
You're unqualified, right. Olay, because you have an accent. Right. You're unqualified, Olay, because you got red dreads. You're unqualified, Olay, because you make faces. So you cannot sit here and be emotionally strong in these type of environments. Because Olay, you posted a video of you breaking down in a moment where you were disrespected at your job while you were protecting a client. So you can't be qualified. Rebecca raised her voice in the middle of an interview. She can't stand in the debate. She can't sit there and be qualified. They took Ketanji's qualifications way back to when she was in high school, y'all, when she was on a debate team. They didn't go with what her history was. They didn't go with real cases they kept pulling up the same two damn cases. That's how they went and said. They said that, in high school you were on a debate team, right? And then you were in college, you were on a debate team. Hell, I did debate. I am a champion at debate in high school and in college. If I knew that would get me a job in the white man's seat, I would have put that on my resume.
Listen, and like I say, as a Black woman in the legal profession, and specifically a public defender like Ketanji was, I'm telling you, she knows how that go. Because I could say to you, to get admitted to the bar in New York City, you're supposed to have this interview, character and fitness. Is after you go through this long process of giving them all of your information, everything that's ever happened in life, all your business, a total invasion of privacy to get sworn in, right? There's supposed to be a meeting. Like it's a formality. It's supposed to be for all the white people. That's how they presented it to you in law school. All the white professors presented like, it's a 2-minute thing. It's a formality. And it was like that for every white person I know. For me and the rest of the Black people I know, people didn't even get the interview for a year waiting to be sworn in. I had to white people that I know, classmates I have, white people I know with DUIs, all kind of stuff on their record, 10-minute formality meeting. I had to be interviewed 3 times before they admit me, questioning me about every Jesus thing. They are in my 9th grade. They in my high school, but like they all kind of stuff, looking for reasons. Mind you, I could see on the paper that I was approved and I'm supposed to move forward to approval. But yet this woman made me come back 3 different times before she would agree to swear me in. So trust me, I know the game. She knows the game. That's how it's like. That is how they go. That is very much so. And you know what? Listen, I make a conscious effort not to play these games. Like I went to high school in West Virginia and Florida. I went to college in Ohio before I moved to New York City. I know white people well. I have a PhD in white people and whiteness and navigating them. If I wanted to play the game, truly I would, right? If I took off my nails right now, let's make these short. Let's make these beige. Let me put in a long, straight black weave with a side part. Let me curl this. Let me do my hair like this. And let me come up here. Right? And and they will still mischaracterize you and present you with all the same kind of foolishness and turn you into a ghetto caricature of yourself. They will always do that. And when I realized that, because for me, the beauty in that was, I'm from the Bahamas where we don't receive, I'm in no way am I a wild Negro to my Bahamian people, right? No one thinks of me like that. I'm very much so, my parents and my family are probably of the 1% in the Bahamas, right? Like I come from a certain background that it doesn't make any sense, these caricatures they associate with you, but what they do is they treat race and class and all their stereotypes and all these different things as synonymous, and then they just put that onto you. You're not a person. And what I recognize after years and years and years of being in America, fighting to be myself and confused as to why these people are receiving me this way and why they're, characterizing me, I realized, oh shit, I'm not an individual. This is about race. These people are going to carry on like this no matter how much I bend over backwards and break myself and beat me and suppress me and do this dance. So forget them. What I realize is I'm like, you know what? I will get from point A to B regardless, because this is the facts, and they could go ask Jesus, but that talent is talent and success is success, and you could be mad about it, you could say what you want about it, you could characterize how you want about it. She gonna be in that room. So I say, whether you want to cry, Black woman, whether you want to scream, whether you want to do that. Ma'am. I go out of my way. I go out of my way to be a multidimensional person. When I first started appearing on TV, my default hairdo used to be black weave, straight weave. I like that. I think that look good on me. And I was like, no, not gonna give them that. When I'm sad about something that happened in court and all of that, I'm gonna tell you when I'm mad, I'm gonna tell you when I cry, I'm gonna tell you when I crack jokes, because I want you to see that not only are Black people, Black women, multidimensional people, we are allowed to be, and that changes. And you are. If you see me this weekend, in my halter top or whatever, you're gonna see me in the morning on Monday on the news. Okay, I'm gonna do all that stuff.
You can be. We are not a monolith. We are all kinds of Black women, and we should be allowed to do every single thing that we want. Like you said.
Way they do.
Be able to be, we should be able to be upset. And then when I do, because when the white woman cries, people hear, people listen. They want to. When I tell, okay, for instance, Ben, we were in the room at one of the first opportunities that I had come in politics as a journalist. We were in the room after breaking my back over sideways for this damn company and doing what they asked me to do. And because I decided to do Black stuff, focus on Black women and their health, focus on Colin Kaepernick, focus on these different stories that were happening, they got upset. And because it was coming from me, we sat in the room. They didn't speak to Benjamin the way they were speaking to me. They were paying me way less than they were paying Ben. We sat in that room and they said, Rebecca, you need to stop doing these stories. And I'm like, but Ben is right here. They weren't talking to him the same way they were talking to me. They didn't like the way that we were both doing these stories, but they just looked at me and they were like, it was me. They said particularly, and that's when Ben stepped in. He was like, well, why aren't y'all talking to me like this? And that's when I realized it's problematic.
Black men.
Rebecca, we Black men protected. Yep, they were like, Rebecca, we saw you. We handed over your video to our the head of the company, and I said, well, what'd they think about it? Well, they related it to BET, and that's when that moment I said, and then the woman who was telling me this, she said to me, they watched it on mute, though. I said, well, that's even worse. You're supposed to be in my corner. You're supposed to be having my back as the other woman in the room. And she considers herself a person of color, but as the other woman in the room. And you let these people say they watched me on mute and I gave off BET vibes. No. First of all, that's not an insult. That's not an insult. Not even trying to hide, but they fully. Yeah, it's not even an insult to me. But that was when I realized in that moment I couldn't be upset. I can't wear my nails a certain kind of way. I can't wear my hair a certain kind of way. Nothing, because they're always going to characterize me as something that's ghetto. And in that moment, I said my truth. I got into their face. Ben started to speak for me, but he's looking at me like, Rebecca, you need to say something. And I said something in that moment. And I decided to just get up and walk away.
I told a dude to meet me at the studio.
The boss was so upset. The boss was so upset with me for getting up and walking away and calling me very rude for doing so. And I said, that's it. I'm tired. You're going to get it any way I flip it, because I am tired of the disrespect. You are upset that I'm doing Black stories. You're already paying me below God knows what. I can't even survive on this. And I'm here doing everything you're asking me for. And you guys, and then in the middle, when I'm not even in the room, you guys are making racist comments about me. Yeah. About what I look like. And that does not stand. So that, if black women don't feel comfortable in that environment, they should be able to walk away from that too, without being looked at as somebody that's given up or turning around on an opportunity that could have been good for their career. If it doesn't fit you, if they're not respecting you in that environment, you should be allowed to walk away.
And I think it comes down to deciding what you're passionate about and what's important to you and who you're there for, right? Because at the end of the day, white people have this tendency to look at things with the assumption that we're trying to appeal to whiteness, like that you give a damn about whiteness. You know what I mean? Or and you don't have to. The same way that they don't care, they do all their issues and they center it around their whiteness, their white community, their white experience. White people have this beautiful habit of acting like identity is only in the form of blackness and people of color and the rest of us. Only us have an identity. Only us are playing identity politics or trying to appeal to our own communities. That's exactly what you're trying to do. That's exactly what they're trying to do. So there's nothing wrong with us doing that. And I always remind myself, because they do the same thing to me. In law school, I'm a black radical. All my issues is blackness. I'm doing this. If I did this, how do white people like me? I'm like, I'm not here for you. I'm not here for you. You're not the person that I'm trying to be seen in. You're not the person I'm trying to speak for. You're not the people I'm advocating for. I think about things like this. Every time I get upset, every time I'm attacked, every time whatever it is, I go read from scholars and people like me, people who've been down this road before. Or I go talk to black people who've been down this road before. And I remember, what? It's not about you, and you're doing something so much more important, and they could fight that and they could not like that. But what you're doing is going to help somebody else. Because even the other day, and I'm a grown woman, some random person I met, they were like, oh my God, I know you from the Hill. I watch you on there, da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And then they're like, oh my God, girl, I don't know how you do it. I couldn't do it if I were you, like the way they're based and the comments. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, do you read the YouTube comments? And I'm like, no, I don't read them. And they were like, well, you shouldn't. And then they proceed to start telling me all the slander in the comments that they just told me don't read, that I just said I don't read for my own health, right? And in the course of that was in my mind for the weekend. And then I remember out the blue, I saw a picture of Toni Morrison dancing at Studio 54 with no bra, titties out. And I was like, yes, goddammit, okay? I was like, I am not the first one. I feel seen, you know what I mean? Like I have people.
Free.
I am not. It's a reminder that you are multidimensional the way we all have been multidimensional. Just because they try to force black people into this box, where not only are we not allowed to be multidimensional, we can't even be our one true self. They want us to be one maxed up version that speaks to them and whiteness and all of that. And listen, who cares? They're going to be racist. You know what they're saying, and just forget them. You know what the ultimate purpose is. You know what you're here for. You know what they're going to do. And it's the same thing that I see at the Beauty and Ketanji. No matter what those white people talking about in the room, most black people I know aren't watching the hearings. They're not watching the hearings because they know. They know exactly what kind of foolishness is going on, and they don't even need that kind of nonsense polluting their brain. We know what kind of excellence she is. We know what she's done. We know what she's going to do. And let's just love affair. Because what these white people talking about, they always going to be mad. That's what they do. Stay mad. Mad. And then tell everybody else we can't be mad. We can't be mad. We gotta be calm and forgiving and sweet and docile, right? Let them be mad. They want to be mad. They don't have a monopoly on rage.
Yeah, it's not on, and it sucks that we had to watch this for 3 days. And I know, you said, Pascal, that you've been monitoring it too. So at the end of it all, what's your takeaway for Ketanji? If you had to give her some Cory Booker energy, what would be your words to Ketanji?
I'm sorry. Some Cory Booker energy. You gotta
add a splash. You gotta add a splash of corny.
I'm just looking here and I'm just so excited. Cory Booker energy. Okay.
Channel Rosario Dawson. There you go.
Channel Rosario.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Because that's so tough to order, though. Go ahead, Doug.
Stop, Benji Ben. I would just say stay strong. Keep going after what she's been doing. Keep the game. Keep her mind on the game. Keep her eye on the ball. If that makes any sense.
That's giving Cory for sure.
Keep your eye on the ball. I'm just just what you're doing. I'm so excited for you. Just stay strong. Don't break the character, I guess.
That's right.
I mean, what you guys are saying back and forth, I'm just stepping back because you guys are just dropping truth bombs here. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I got to say, Olay, I did try the hair thing. You were talking about the side part and everything. And obviously that didn't work out for me.
It didn't work out for all three of y'all boys.
None of us. But what I lack in hair,
Black, bald, and bearded.
but what I lack in hair, I have, in heart and
Quick
brains.
side-
Okay. So that's what I'm going to say.
Quick side
Olay?
comment. I watch this guy on YouTube called Crimson Cinema, and he covers, because Black Guy covers movies, and he's covering Baby Boy, and he was pointing out, he was like, you see John Singleton with this subtle bald head propaganda, bald head, good man propaganda. He's like, all the
Every one of them.
the bald, and all the villain got a long head. I was like,
That's right.
Really,
This is true.
men only bring on good bald black men.
That's it.
This is true. This is true. So is that what they're trying to say about the bald black men? The bald black and bearded
they
men.
The bald and the beautiful.
Bald black bearded.
Bald and the beautiful.
The triple B's. The triple B's. Look at y'all over there looking like a group. Looking like a group.
Well, folks, all hearts.
Yeah,
the bald-headed version of Destiny's Child.
Yeah, because that's y'all looking like the male version of Destiny's Child. It's true. The bald, black, and bearded. Baby, that could be a whole show. But anywho,
let me find out y'all can sing.
That's like a soap opera.
Yeah, wait. Say that again. Say that again. What was that? What was that, Ole?
Ben knows how to play.
Oh, yeah.
Let me find out
But you know,
any of y'all
Bubba is a
can
DJ.
Oh, we got a whole little
You
singing
want
group
to hear
on the
my
screen.
song? I'm playing my song for you.
Oh, black and beautiful.
You hear it?
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Wow. You know what I'm saying? There you go.
Sing.
I mean, even Cory Booker's in that piece too. Bald, black, and beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah.
all the
He don't have the beard though. He ain't got the beard though. He look like a saint.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain him because he don't have a beard.
And he kind of like
You gotta have a beard.
They up the membership. They said,
Yeah,
oh, no,
it's
not
different. It's different. You got to be.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you gotta have a beard.
Hey,
And it's okay because maybe he doesn't have the beard because he wants to keep his youthfulness. I remember I interviewed him like 2-3 years ago, and he, I was looking at him. I'm like, and but then when I went to go talk to him one-on-one, he was so kind. That corniness, it's real. He's like, let me grab your phone. Let's take a selfie. And I was like,
terrible.
Okay. But he was so kind. He was so sweet. He was so genuine. So I wouldn't want, anybody else in the room. I don't care how light skinned you are. Like when Carl Mack is in the room and he's telling me, queen. When they come in the room, they call you queen. See, I love that. If you're a light skinned man, it always be a light skinned man.
There's nothing wrong with being light skinned.
I love when Brother Mac come with that. I love that.
Yeah.
Moment. It's just so late.
That light skin energy hit different. Y'all, they just come in, just think they run the world sometimes, and they're not damn light skin. It's because you're light skinned. But I ain't gonna go there.
Oh, Pascal's on the spectrum.
He's like, you got the light skin, then you got middle ground. So he like that middle ground.
Do I need to kill one of these lights so you can just you know what I'm saying?
But I swear to you, Rebecca, I was literally just looking at Pascal in the corner, like I zeroed in on him, and I just say something like, hey, I was like, you got like a shade and a half away.
It's probably the lighting, man. It's probably the lighting for sure.
If Dwayne puts me being and Pascal in the same row, it'd probably be the different varying shades of blackness from Pascal being
a black bearded man.
It do be the lighting though, because without this ring light right here, I'm just a brown girl, but this light be trying to give me, and then some of the filters too. I don't be using all the filters, on the TikToks and all the Instagram and all that, because sometimes they'll. There they go.
See, now I need to kill a light. Hold up. Let me see if I can kill a light real quick.
Let's turn the light off real quick.
Hold on. Look at Ben just happy to be in the middle like Beyonce. No, Ben is giving Beyonce. You're still, and Bubba.
Wait, what are the rules? What are your rules for your model look?
It's okay to be Kelly. It's okay to be Kelly because Kelly's a baddie too. All of them are baddies, but you were still giving us pecan.
Wait a minute.
Pecan vibes.
James looked like the opening scene in Belly. James, you look like the opening scene in Belly right there. Go back.
Wait, look. I'm the original Dundada. I'm the original Dundada.
Rod Scott. Oh, man.
That's a black, bald, and bearded crew right here. And then
missing that fluorescent paint bubble.
and
David or
And then David, David is white and bearded, but he adds a little pepper. David is the one. I bet you wonder where I've been. He the white blue eye.
Oh man. Ooh, folks.
They don't show David because David is like the one that when they hear him, they're like, "Is he black?" And they won't know yet until we put him out, like that man that sings that song.
Oh, okay.
Listen, we are a diversity and inclusive show. We have a whole white person working for us.
Oh wait, y'all know who we forgot about too? Dwayne gonna be the one that's at the very beginning of the light skin spectrum. Dwayne about the lightest one.
Dwayne is the one in Boyz II Men that does the breakdown, baby. I love you, and I just want to let you. Dwayne is that person.
Sorry, I hurt you.
Y'all got to relax.
Oh my God! And Dwayne,
I don't know Dwayne.
Dwayne is light skinned too. Yeah.
Oh, Dwayne is hidden behind the scenes. I don't know Dwayne.
I'm a nice,
he's light
I'm a nice
skinned, bald and
caramel
bearded.
complexion. I'm not light skinned.
Oh,
Dwayne, we like
caramel
this
is
voice. Where you
light
live?
skinned.
Man, that ninja light skin, man. F all
You on the
Brown
you
skin.
like this. The spectrum.
He like
brown skin.
okay. Y'all hear the little one in the background. She is she agreeing with us, Dwayne.
Brown skin.
Well, girl. Anyways, we're at the end of the show. I don't really like y'all that much, except for Olay. So, Pascal, thanks for pulling up. We love you so much. And next time you come on, we gonna sing. We gotta do karaoke.
Right.
We'll do a karaoke joint.
I want to do karaoke. Oh,
Okay,
me
then
too.
you live in Atlanta. We all gonna do karaoke, a group karaoke.
Cal, do you live in Atlanta?
If Olay's involved.
Pascal, you live?
Yeah.
Say
Where you
again?
live, Pascal? Where you live?
Where do I live?
Like what city? What state?
Oh, sorry, St. Louis. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. St. Louis.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure I was not the only one missing out. I was like, if you in Atlanta too, damn it.
Yeah. Girl, you talking about Atlanta. I don't even see Bubba. Bubba don't do much.
Yeah.
He will not come down here and really see me for real. Ben is all over
You
the
stay
place.
in Narnia.
And
That is like 2
Bubba didn't even
hours away.
object. But it's true because Bubba ain't object. He let you finish all of that. He's like,
Yeah, he didn't object.
Oh,
He said I
you
live
so
far.
good.
He said I live far. I do live far though. I do live far. But Pascal,
man.
I never heard of a Haitian living in St. Louis, but you told me it's a few over there. I need to really see. I need to pull up and really see if that's true.
Rebecca.
Yeah, there are Haitians everywhere, but I ain't never heard of them being in St. Louis. We're at the end of the show.
We out here.
I love you guys so much. Next time, yes. I know Haitians is everywhere, but I didn't never heard of them over there. But I love y'all so much. We're going to do karaoke on the next time we bring us all together. I told you it's a family show. We all here. These are our cousins, Pascal and Olay, cousins from another area. I love you guys. We'll see you on Friday. Bye, guys.
It's time to go. Hey, I'm dancing on screen. It's time to go.
I hate all of y'all. All right, people. Yes, indeed. Snack Panther karaoke is Japanese for tone deaf, like all of us are. Anywho, y'all, we love y'all. We mean it. We will see y'all tomorrow. Thank you again for tuning in and joining us, y'all. We love y'all. Mean it. And your affirmation for today. Give me 1 second. Yes, this is a good one. As I say yes to life, life says yes to me. As I say yes to life, life says yes to me. Y'all gonna be great. Love y'all. Mean it. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Deuces.
Like it or not, it's going down. Like it or not, y'all stick around. Oh, like it or not.